Baba wa, Baba mi, Eshu. Wa Eshu, wa Eshu.
Hey, peace, and welcome everyone to the midday session of Community. It's Chief Yuya speaking, and of course, you are all listening to Enlightenment and Transformation. I want to say peace and welcome to everyone. I see in the chat room already, Michelle, Marvin, Nicole, Omega, Antonio, I Am Divine, Deanna, Strong Mind, Strong Body Fitness. Let me give you that little plug. I'm going to start saying the username from now on. Strong Mind, Strong Body Fitness, personal trainer. I Am Divine. And I saw Shamika in there. Can't see her now, but she was in there. But, and Sequoia, of course. Welcome, everyone, to Community and Diana Williams. All right, I'll come back and say the rest of them. Everybody's showing up now, so I'm going to keep pausing. But, welcome everyone to Enlightenment and Transformation, especially you first-time listeners and you historical listeners. I laugh a little bit thinking about that because, the segments, even though there is an ebb and flow in terms of the topics and the subjects that we present and the ideas that we talk about, they're all interconnected and interrelated. And of course, there's a sequential pattern. I think for those who listen to the segment for the first time, depending on when they come in, especially if they listen to a late night Wednesday segment, I think it's a good litmus test as to determine if you really want to be here or not. Because sometimes the ride gets a bit rough. So, I was kind of joking about that with some students recently, about what it must be like calling in for the first time and, hearing some of the things that you hear. Because in many instances, we get new listeners all the time. And sometimes people are not aware of how long we've been on the air. We haven't been doing the YouTube thing all this time. So that's fairly new. I think it's been a year maybe. Yeah, because the beginning of last year, we started doing the YouTube segments, the video segments. So it's, that's still fairly new, but we were on Blog Talk previously. So a lot of times, sometimes people don't realize that there's already a history in place to a degree, but also they just may not be ready for a different type of teaching. Sometimes we're so used to everything coming at us a certain way, again, because of our programming, that it's unsettling sometimes when you get things differently. So, I welcome all you new time listeners, and, just put your seatbelt on. Hold on. It may not be exactly what you're accustomed to, what we're speaking about. But in this segment, we're talking about knowing your destiny. And in particular, the segment is entitled Knowing Your Destiny So You Can Embrace Your Future. Okay. Very important topic. And of course, last night's segment, I kind of grazed over it a little bit. Of course, last night, we were talking about PTSD, depression, as well as anxiety. And it was a really good session. And I want to remind everyone who was listening yesterday, we didn't get derailed. Because that seems to keep that came back a little bit today. Oh, we were doing so well, and then we went this way. You got to understand again. It's just like when you watch TV shows and there's fights on Jerry Springer or something like that. Those shows are edited, so they take it in the direction that they want it to go into. Well, it's the same thing with these segments. I mean, they're live, but they're not that live. Just because they're live, it doesn't mean that there's no control. So if I want to go down a certain direction, just understand that it's a direction that I need to go down for your benefit, not for my benefit. So, you count those moments of even spontaneity, because that's the beauty of doing the live segment. Because honestly, at this point, yeah, we have the live chat room, which is cool. But I really could go back to doing pre-recorded segments, in all honesty, because it's not like I do a profundity of live call-ins. I mean, you're welcome to call in, but it's not like there's a proliferation of that, anything like that. So really, I could just pre-record my lectures like I was doing way back before and then just upload them, right? But I still do these shows live for several reasons, but one of the main reasons is because there's still spontaneity. Sometimes there's certain things like yesterday that are said in the chat room that will invoke certain thinking, or, will take us in a certain direction. It's a good direction. That's how you go with the spirit. It's not so much all the time about, no, I came to talk about it. We're going to talk about this. If you're presenting and you're healing and you're helping the people, then you got to be sensitive and you have to keep your eye on where the people are at. So that's an important thing, to keep in mind. And another little thing I'm going to throw in there, I know we're before our 20-minute mark, and like I always say, at the 20-minute mark is usually where everybody comes in. So I think it's the first maybe 15 minutes and maybe the last half an hour that we really are able to dive into some of the more critical things. But all of this is for free. All right. Keep that in mind. Sometimes we get locked into, again, and I spoke about this before. We're going to talk about it again. But sometimes we get locked into this mindset that when people help, because we're so unused to people helping, and we're so unused to being helpful, to actually pulling our weight and helping people and giving and sharing and sacrificing for other people, that when others do it for us, we get confused. We start thinking that they actually work for us. So it kind of amuses me. And I thought about that recently. There's certain web series that I enjoy watching, right? And to my own admission, well, I'm not going to tell you what kind of web series, but there's certain ones I like watching. And it was interesting. I was reading comments on one of them, and the people were complaining about how long the producer of the web series was taking to release episodes. Because I think that, they're supposed to come out like every 14 days, something like that. And sometimes it'll be like a month before there's an episode. And people were complaining and saying, this is some BS. I'm going to go over here and watch Money and Violence because y'all ain't really da-da-da-da-da. And I'm reading this and I'm saying, this person had to go buy a camera. Camera's expensive to film this. They probably had to buy a boom mic. They had to get lighting. They had to get talent to actually act in this web series. And most episodes in this web series are no shorter than 50 minutes. Usually like 50 minutes to an hour or longer. So this person is doing all of this out of their pocket. They're not charging, and of course it's probably an end game. It's always an end game. But for right now, you've gotten, I think they're on their second season. You've gotten 2 full seasons without charge. And, they have to take out of their time to do this. They have to get everybody organized and together. They probably have to pay certain people. They're getting rental cars. They need people to man the camera, as well as the boom mic and the lighting and things like. So there's so many things that go into it, and they're not asking you for a dime. And people are getting this free show. It's really good. The actual show Matter of fact, let me just say the show, because that's a way to, show some respect. Why am I keeping that secret? The name of the show is Respect Life. Respect Life is the name of the show. It's written and directed by, and he stars in it as well, by a brother by the name of Boom Pacino. Boom Pacino. All right. So the name of the show is Respect Life. So if you like, like urban web series, like Money and Violence, Respect Life, Mayhem, 848, Project Heat, those type of, those type of series. And I know a lot of you probably don't like that because you're righteous. But if you like that type of stuff, it's a really good show. And I'm proud of him because, he was a rapper, and coming from being an artist, being a rapper, he put out his own segment. He decided to put out his own show, and he works the camera, he does the directing, he writes the show, he does everything himself, and I think that's a beautiful thing. It's well done. Even the acting is pretty good in it, and you could tell like none of the people are acting, so you could tell like his skill as a director is pretty good, and he doesn't have a film background. This is just something he just put his money together and just did. So I always appreciate people who just go and act on what they say they want to do, instead of sitting back complaining about why it can't be done and nobody's supporting me and this and that and that and that and that. All these different excuses that a lot of times we put forward when we're supposed to get things done. So, I respect that, brother. And there's also another one, New York Underground. No, I'm sorry, New York Underground Kings, which is another one. This is not a show about urban web series, but I'm just giving as an example. And while I'm at it, why not? For those who are interested, let's make you aware of what the brother's doing. They just wrapped up. They just finished season 2, by the way. But yeah, I was reading comments and I'm like, people were going off, and I'm saying, maybe y'all don't understand how much time and energy, because he still got to, after he does all the shooting, he's got to edit it. He edits the show himself as well. So he does everything. So it was just very interesting to me. Again, like I said, looking at that and looking at the comments and things like that, and seeing how people were responding to him in terms of doing that work, just the level of ungratefulness. The level of ungratefulness was very interesting. But again, that's kind of like the era that we live in now. People are they're very demanding, and they don't realize that, there's a lot of work that goes into presenting what's presented to you. And again, no one has to do that for you. Like him doing that web series, you should just be grateful. I don't care if it comes out every 2 months. You didn't pay for it. You're getting it for free. So that's just something to think about. To think about through all of these experiences. It's just something to think about, the mind that we've taken on. It's not really a healthy mind. It's not a good mind. The mind that we've taken on in terms of the demands that we put out. Many people who are in the conscious collectives have gathered the majority of their intelligence through free means, without ever supporting in one iota the person is giving you the information. I mean, it's a great time we live in, if you really think about it, that you could get, before, your free way of getting information was a library card, and even then you might pay a fee if you brought the book back late, or eventually they had tapes and DVDs, but, so yeah, man, just appreciate the times we in, man. You got all this free content, and people are going out of their way to do things for you. Be a little appreciative. I find it interesting sometimes, even on my own pieces, that there are times that I only see people when they're complaining about a segment. Like, people will say, normally I like these segments and I love them, but this one, I hated it. But the ones that you liked, I never saw your name on any of those. I never saw your avatar pop up. You only had something to say, when you wanted to spew some, I almost have to say hate, because usually people who say things like that, they don't actually tell you specifically what the issue was. They just say, I didn't like this one. You know, so yeah, man, just something to think about. It's a sickness. Trust me, it's a sickness, and actually, it's a sign of insanity. I'll get into it another time, but that's insanity. You know, maybe you understand what I'm saying, maybe you don't. I don't know, but either way, let's get into it. All right, and Shamika says the curse and the blessing. YouTube gives us access to free content. The curse is viewers develop a sense of entitlement, patrons support, and viewers demand. Right? Exactly. You know, and people think it's going to be like that forever. You know, there's nothing free in America. Never forget that. Nothing free. Like I always tell y'all, only thing that's free is the cheese that's in the mousetrap. That's what's free. Okay? So even like when I do these segments, there's a cost, right? Because if people are disrespectful, lazy, and just not applying what's being taught for long enough, you know, I won't do them. I'll stop. You know, there's like there's a cutoff point. There's a point where I'm doing them because I need to do them, because maybe there's a spiritual promise I made, or something I have to do, and then there's a point after that where now you're in the grace period. And if there's not a proper response based on what you're being graced with, I'll stop. So you start to see that there's still a cost, because your response or your respect or whatever, that's the fee. You know, like a lot of times I tell people, you know, when they say thank you, I say the greatest thanks you could do is just apply it and share it. Share it, you know, pay it forward. So there's always some kind of cost, even if it's not monetary. You know, there's always something. You know, that may be expected. It's a give and take. At least it should be. It should be a reciprocal exchange. But also keep in mind, like I say often, sometimes people we don't realize who are on the internet are mentally demented. And sometimes when you see certain comments and stuff, we forget that. You think you're talking to a person who has a mind that's properly mentally arranged, and they're actually demented. But they just have the ability to type. You know, so they'll say something and then you'll validate whatever it is that they're saying. You'll start engaging them back and forth without realizing you're speaking to someone who has a mental disorder. You know, so that's important too. So let's get into it, right? I know there was some leftover questions from yesterday. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick, if I can. Okay, so I'm gonna run through these real quick. I'm not gonna give exhaustive answers, and then we're gonna get into today's topic. L. Jackson yesterday, and excuse me if I say these out of order. I'm just kind of going through where I see again question marks, like I was doing before. But L. Jackson said, "Chief, I would just put out here, she's one of those EYEI people. She says EYE. Uh-oh. Just about to drop it. She put EYE. I am not saying that it is me, but it is a friend. Here is the scenario as to why one would be plagued with these issues." And she's referring, this is a comment on yesterday's or last night's segment on depression, anxiety, and PTSD. She said, one, again, here's the scenario as to why one may be plagued with these issues. One, sexual abuse as a child. Two, raped at gunpoint as an adult. Three, living under the same roof as your abusers from childhood to adulthood. Didn't realize my friend was suffering from PTSD, but it makes sense. My friend's anxiety comes by just walking out of the house. Yeah, of course. My friend stays in warrior mode. I feel because of these events. My friend is guilty of putting her emotions in a box. She shouldn't, she may be guilty of that. I hope she doesn't feel guilty of that. Of course, I don't know your friend, but I hope she doesn't feel guilty about putting her emotions in a box. She had to do that to keep herself protected. My friend has been to family therapy, psychiatry, etc. The lesson gained: acknowledge the source of the feeling and initial trigger, own it and process it. The topic was very timely for my friend, cuts deep for many. Thank you so much, Chief. Bless your life. Well, thank you, and blessings to you as well, El. My Bahamian sister. So yeah, man, I can relate to that, man. As far as what she's saying, I've seen that scenario so many times, and I've had to even do some measure of research to that degree, because I've seen, and what I mean by that, I've seen so many situations where, in particular, women and men, because I know men who have been molested too, by their mothers or by aunties, that happens. That does happen. And I've seen so many scenarios where people have had that type of experience. And when I was much younger, I could never understand how a person would have an experience like that with someone, or, go through that level of trauma and tragedy, but still, intermingle with them, still associate themselves. I don't care if it's father, mother, whomever, or brother, sometimes cousins, and still maintain a relationship with them. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome. You start to see to some degree. So, like she said, that trauma of still living under the roof as a adult, with someone who victimized you as a child. A lot of times you find with people who go through those type of experiences as children, they have a lot of trouble extracting or pulling away from the root and the base of their trauma. They have trouble getting away and going out on their own. It's the devil that I know, almost in a sense. But there's a part of them, remember, because with PTSD, what happens, a person is still, because again, your mind has natural mechanisms to resolve and to put things in order that are out of order. It's just the normal way. You walk by a picture that's crooked on the wall, even if it's not your house, you might straighten it out. So simple example, I know, of course, but I think you get what I'm saying. So the mind wants to do that automatically. So a lot of times you'll find that people will stay close to the root of their abusers because there's a part of them that still wants to work out what actually happened, that is still trying to put it in order. So if they go too far out there, they won't really have access to what they feel is or maybe the experience of the witnessing of what actually occurred. And then a lot of times they go into this mode where they feel like they become the buffer and the sacrificial lamb. So, let's say if you have a grandfather who's touching everybody. Well, if I leave, he's going to touch my little sister or touch my cousins or this, that. So I'll stay here and be the buffer so I can protect them, which of course you can't do. But see, that's the mind's way. It's trying to make sense of insanity. It's trying to put things in order. And a lot of times it won't step away from it until it can. We do that a lot of times. Even for some of us, living in America has been that. For some of us, nothing has ever worked here. For us, we can't seem to get anything going for us. Every time we're working from crisis to crisis. And every year it's like it's a new thing that the government is doing that has us terrified every single year. And then somebody will say something like this, hey man, this is a big planet. Why don't you just leave? Go someplace where it's cooler. Yeah, of course the beast is all over, but there's certain places where you don't have to have such direct interaction with the beast. Why don't you go someplace where it's cooler? And we can't, because we're still trying to make this thing work, knowing that it never will. Like I've always said in many segments, previously, that especially melanoid people, we're the only people that will keep doing something repeatedly that does not work. Still praying to invisible gods to come and do something for us, and they never have. And the little bits of relief that we have, we don't even realize that was just because of our own positive thinking. So that's part of the dysfunction and the sickness that we have inside of us collectively. That's why when you talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome, you're speaking about a collective mindset of plantation mentality that a large masses of people have. So it's the same thing in scenarios like that. Often people will come closer, or will want to be closer. I'm a field Negro, but I like to sleep on Master's porch. Even though there's a shack out in the field that I can sleep in that will keep me protected from the mosquitoes, I prefer to sleep on the porch right next to my abuser, He can come out at any time. Maybe he wants to come out and urinate. He'll come out and urinate all over my sleeping body, but I'm right next to Massa because this situation is so unfathomable. And my mind is having so much trouble putting it into proper order that I have to stay close to it to still try to figure it out. You see? And it's futile. Sometimes it's hard to just look at it and say, you know what? The world is an effed up place with effed up people, and effed up things are gonna happen. I just got caught up in the wave of something effed up. Now let me go see the better parts. Let me go hunt down some rainbows. You know, so there's just different ways to look at that. Let me give you all the calling. No, I forgot. I'm sorry about that. For those of you who want to call in and listen that way or speak, 515-605-9862. I know I keep saying I'm gonna do a recording of it. I keep forgetting, but we're gonna be off Blog Talk soon anyway, so I'm not worried about that. All right, so I'm gonna go to the next one. I think there's only like 2 of them. Awesome presentation, Chief. I have been thinking about contacting you. This is Empress 2009. Hey Empress, why don't you update that username? No, I'm playing with you. It always tickles me. Sometimes you ask a woman her age, and her username is like Foxy 1976. Duh. But obviously you wasn't born in 2009. I'm messing with you. But she says, awesome presentation, Chief. I have been thinking about contacting you in relation to the topic. It will be a year, since the topic knocked on my door and made demands on me to look at it. So I understand when you say you know what we need in many ways. All these poisons are systematic of the culture we live in. Yeah. Just to say thank you, Chief, does not convey my appreciation for the information you have shared over the years. Okay, I'm sorry. So, okay, I thought that was a question, but thank you. And you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. All right? I'm glad it's helping you out, Empress. Spirit Driven issued an apology to everyone that I'm going to read out loud. I wasn't going to read it, but I'll read it. Please allow me a moment to apologize to anyone in the chat room during tonight's broadcast that may have been distracted or offended by any of my posted comments. I most definitely apologize to Chief Yuya for interrupting the lesson. You didn't, sis. Don't worry about it. Taking focus away from the main topic and extending the show by at least an hour. You didn't extend the show. Don't worry. I won't blame it on anything but my own lack of judgment. May this reach those whom it concerns with truth and love. Spirit Driven, OUT, out. All right, so that's what Spirit Driven offered, as a result of last night's chat room fiasco. All right, so let's get into it. All right, we're gonna. All right, I see some question marks. All right, I'm gonna answer a couple questions real quick. Then we're gonna get into the topic. Give me a second just to find them. Okay, so I Am Divine says, Chief, is it natural for a parent to be overprotective due to past experiences that cause PTSD or depression? No, that is not natural. It's never natural to be overprotective. The prefix over already lets you know that you're being excessive. And he's saying overprotective due to past experiences that cause PTSD or depression. Well, that's not your child's experiences. That's your experiences. So you're projecting your trauma onto your child. So no, absolutely not. That's problematic. A lot of people do that, man. I've seen that, especially with people who've been molested. I've seen that real often. They're real protective about who's around the child, even down to the father, or the uncles or whatever, and yeah, we can say, a lot of times it does happen, but no, that's not natural. Again, just understand that PTSD is not natural. Post-traumatic stress syndrome or stress disorder, that within itself is not natural. It's not natural to live in a society where you're unable to flush out your emotions. A lot of times we have to operate while wounded. We get wounded in battle and we got to keep fighting. You see, so what happens in that moment when you get wounded in battle and you have to keep fighting? Well, you have to suppress whatever it is you're feeling. You know, you might be battling on the battlefield, and you know the person next to you gets shot, or the person next to you gets stabbed, or a bomb goes out off overhead, and you want to stay and stop and freeze, because remember, fight, flight, freeze. You want to respond in some way to what just occurred, but you can't, because you got to keep moving. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep going. So you don't actually get an opportunity to process what is going on. So you develop post-traumatic stress disorder, because post-traumatic, the trauma has already happened, but now you have different stressors, different stress triggers as a result. And remember, it's disorder. So signifying that something is not right. It's not order. Your natural inclination is towards order. It's a disorder. So no, it's not a natural thing to have, and it certainly is not natural to raise your children in response to your unnatural state of sickness. Okay, so just as a note, no, it's not. Okay. I am divine. Okay, you expounded. Meaning, should we be protective, or do we learn from the experience and protect them, but not overpower them with our experience? Yeah, I think I think that I answered that in the last one. Yeah, absolutely. No, you do not overpower them with your experience. That's how you drive your children away. You know, think about, again, post-traumatic slave syndrome. What do we do oftentimes? Our child does something wrong. What do? We take out a belt and whip them like they're property, right? And sometimes what the parents say when they do that, better me than the cops. I'd rather you learn now than have to learn by some police officer. So, you know, we beat the mess out of them so we can take the place of the slave maker. You see, but that's a response to those stressors, because we have that fear. I've seen mothers purposely steer their children into their boys into homosexuality, because they know that they're less of a threat as a homosexual, so they'll be safer. Friday night, is he on the block? Is he out playing basketball, chasing girls? Nope, he's in his room playing with video games. You know, or in church. Friday night youth service, and that's where it really goes down. Talking about orgy season, you know, Friday night youth service, and she doesn't care if he's this or that, or he's not going to continue the bloodline, because at least I know where he's at. I got to work at night. I got to work on Fridays, so I can't watch him, but I know he's in the house. He's a good boy. You see, and it's not insidious. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a result of women who actually hate men. They do that, you know, or they're highly controlling, so they don't want to raise a man. This is their way of getting back at men. I'm a take the manhood out of this little boy, turn him into a homosexual. That's my revenge. You know, might even be getting back at the boy's father. Sometimes it is that, but oftentimes it's a response to their own stressors. They walk out the house terrified every day. They read the newspaper, they watch the news, and all these different things happening to young boys or to grown men, and they say, okay, well, what can I do to completely steer my child away from the possibility of some of those things happening? You know, and it's not to say that homosexual men and women are not victimized, but the degree of it happening in terms of a racial context is far less for other reasons, you know. So yeah, just think about that for a moment in terms of what you're saying. No, it's definitely not natural. You know, it's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. All right. Oh, you're getting a bit of static on YouTube. Okay. Let me know. A lot of static. All right, we're gonna pause. Give me a second. I'm gonna fix it. How did I do this? I forgot. I haven't had to do it in so long. Give me a second. I know Blog Talk, you guys can't hear me, but YouTube is jamming up. So just give me a second here. Do my little Fred Sanford thing. All right, what about now, YouTube? Tell me now if it's working now, or if it's clear now, I guess I should say. I don't want to go too much into the topic until I know it's cleared up, because then I'm pretty much wasting my time. I noticed that there's a delay. Okay, no. Being stuck in church wasn't as social as I am now. Stayed in the bedroom down there all day. My father was there, but not present at all. Okay. All right, I'm gonna just start talking, and hopefully YouTube is clear. There's a delay. It's like maybe like a 45-second delay on the YouTube. Oh, it's clear. Thank you, brother Antonio, and thank you, sister Jennifer. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's like a 45-second. Thank you. I am divine. Delay over there. So, I've noticed that. Thank you, sister Sequoia. Everybody's letting me know that it's clear over there now. Okay, cool. Thank you, sister Didi. I appreciate it. Anyone else? No, but thank you all. I appreciate that for letting me know that it's clear. Like I said, it's nothing worse than sitting here running down through the information, and then you find out, man, we couldn't even hear you, Chief, but we was training, we was trying. Thanks. Thank you, brother Joel, as well. So yeah, man. So we're getting into this concept and this idea of destiny, right? I want to jump into that. I think we've covered the questions from yesterday, and if I missed anyone, any questions that I missed, please, post them in the chat. It's okay. I'll go over them. I know yesterday was a long segment, but trust me, it was a necessary segment, and I want to reiterate that again. Thank you, Sister Courtney, for letting me know we're good now. It was a necessary segment. Just trust me on it. Just ride with me for a second. I know what I'm doing here. Like I said last time, I know what I'm doing. Sometimes some things need to be said. And trust me, just so you get this too, I'm never talking to one person. Like when someone's talking about something and I say, okay, wait a minute. And I go through and I clear it up. Trust me, I'm never just talking to that person. So I don't want anyone, that's what the point I was making last night too. I don't want anyone to sit back like, tisk, 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 and look down at the brow of their nose at the individual that's being addressed. Because trust me, because I have, when y'all call on the Blog Talk, your phone number pops up. I could call you after the show. I've done that before. And YouTube, there's a function in the chat room. I can go to your channel. I can email you on Gmail if I need to and say, listen, boom, 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 boom. So if I want to make it private, I can. And many times I do, as many of you know. But so when I'm saying something out loud like that, it's because, trust me, y'all need to hear it. All of y'all need to hear it, because there's a lot of you who are doing the same thing. All right. So again, like I said, don't look down on anybody, because I said it last night. All of y'all are effed up. And like I said, I told you yesterday's show was a thumbs down show. I got 4 thumbs down before the dawning. When the sun came up, it was 4 thumbs down already on that show. I knew that was gonna happen. Again, can't be so concerned about how people are gonna receive everything, man, because those with ears to hear know that we're in a time now where things got to be presented a little bit differently. Older folks a lot of times still want the same kind of presentation. They want preaching at the end of the day. That's why they like when I get it, when I elevate my volume and put a little bit more inflection and cadence into what I'm saying. And then sometimes you'll see in the chat, what do they say? Preach, Chief. Right. Because at the end of the day, you want to take your butt back to fire baptized Pentecostal church. That's why so many people love Bobby Hemmett so much, but then listen to what he was saying, but they liked his preacher cadence. You see? So this is a time now where we need things presented a different kind of way, man. And if you don't see that, or if you can't hear what's going on around you, then honestly, you're gonna be swept under. You're just gonna be lost, But I spoke about yesterday. I made a reference to Ileri Ipen or Rumila, in fact. And I've done a show on Rumila. One of the emanations from Olodumare. Ilah meaning diviner, Orun meaning that which is above heaven, or even harem as well. The concept of Orun. So the diviner of heaven, right? So Ileri Ipen or Rumila is known as the witness to, second to Olodumare, the witness to creation. which also gives them the gift of being a witness to destiny, knowing the exact time and date that people will actually end, people will actually expire. Well, as I've taught in many other segments previously, that when you're dealing with these cosmic energies, you're dealing with energies that exist within our matrix. Even though oftentimes you're taught that they are external to you, and these may be attributes or traits that you want to call forth, or give an offering, or pour libations, or give a tutu, give something so that those particular attributes can come to you, those particular attributes can work with you. And all of that is accurate. All of that does work. That is right and exact. But also, these are forces that live within you because of the fact that you have the essence of the creator inside of you. So when we say Orumila, we say Oduduwa, we say Obatala, these are particular energies or archetypes. Just like if we say Tahuti, right? These are particular archetypes and energies that exist within your psyche. Okay. Now I know it probably feels like I'm taking you back a couple of years in terms of what I'm talking about, but remember, we have a lot of new listeners all the time that listen. So it's good to give them the point of reference, like I always say. So that's why I always like to go back. So now, this idea of destiny, or being the witness to destiny, and that's why when you go to a Babalawo and we cast Ifa, we can find out things about your destiny. But ultimately, let's look at what destiny is for a moment. I always like to solidify the definitions, so that way when we're speaking, we're stepping forward with the surety of knowledge before we try to gain any understanding of anything. But we understand. Essentially, destiny is this. A lot of people think that destiny is what has been written for you. So no matter what I do, it doesn't really matter because I have a predestined fate, right? And that's not actually altogether accurate. Okay. In some ways it could be, depending on your perspective, but not really accurate, right? So your destiny is primarily the goals that your thoughts and action strive towards, whether those thoughts are conscious thoughts or subconscious thoughts. Okay, that's what determines and outlines your destiny. So it primarily, again, and similar to what we were speaking about yesterday when we were making our reference to depression, and I was saying primarily with depression, you're dealing with certain kinds of thoughts. With anxiety, you're dealing with certain kinds of feelings. With PTSD, you're dealing with certain type of experiences that that were acted out, or that you acted out. So each one kind of manifests itself and or originates in different parts of you. But again, when you're dealing with destiny, it's about where your thoughts are bringing you to. Okay, so like we say, as a man thinketh, so is he. And I was saying yesterday, you're not your thoughts, but your thoughts are creating spiritual entities which provide the character for your experiences. And a lot of times we use, or we try, because we don't understand destiny, or we don't even want to understand it. we use destiny and fate interchangeably, and we use it as a way to remove ourselves from accountability. So, something's going on, maybe, it wasn't in my destiny to do this or that. And sometimes that's a result also of the level of our evolution. Sometimes it's even the level of our collective evolution. There were certain things that may have happened to us at one point in time that we didn't understand. So because we didn't understand it, we said it's destiny. And then as we evolved and we grew and we were able to understand it better, then we can say, no, it's my responsibility. You see, so just like you have some people who maybe they have family members who have died of cancer, right? And because there are times that people don't educate themselves about cancer. I mean, I know a lot of people who think that cancer is hereditary and there's no root cause for it. It just happens, And then I know people who know or understand that no, there are certain behaviors and actions and there's a culture and there's a lifestyle that is cancerous, down to the devices that we use, the type of home that we live in, what we live next to, what we eat, what we wear, how we clean ourselves, what we smoke. I mean, I could obviously go through some very long list here. Again, because Western culture and lifestyle is cancerous, and it gives people cancer. Bottom line. Okay. So a lot of times, because of our lack of understanding, we'll say, okay, well, this is destiny. It was just fate. It was just in the cards, because we don't realize that in certain areas that we do have a responsibility, there are things that we actually can know, you see, and then can control and can affect, right? So essentially, based on that, that would mean that we can shape our destiny, right? We can shape even our fate. In fate, we'll get into fate, right? Fate, because fate is actually, there's an inference when you're dealing with the idea of fate. There's an inference to the fact that, you can affect this, you can bend this, you can twist this thing around a little bit. We learn that in the sacred Odu of Irosun Meji, where we learn about, you can push fate, you can utilize your ego to push fate, to drive down into you don't necessarily have to accept, period. So you don't have to accept. Okay, now what does that mean overall? Well, there are things that happen, there are contracts that are generated around us all the time, and you can choose to accept the contract or not to accept the contract. You could tear it up and say, no, this is what my life is going to be, this is what my world outlook is going to be, and this is how I'm going to define my movement forward. Right now, of course, a lot of people don't necessarily want that responsibility, right? Even though they already have it, the responsibility is on them. A lot of folks want to ignore it. Okay, so they'll say things like, well, my life is in the hands of the man with the plan. They'll sing songs like that. And again, the idea of, I'm going to render myself over to something else. I'm going to render myself over to someone else. But once we understand that, well, Orunmila is the witness to creation, therefore the witness to destiny. That means if we're looking at the law of correspondence, there must be a correspondence between creation and destiny, and not just that one is the beginning and one is the end, right? So when we use our creative faculties, what we're essentially doing, like I often tell you, when you look at creation stories, they're not then, they're now. Okay, creation is now. Creation is in the moment. Right now, Obatala is descending from the chain. Oduduwa is descending from the chain. Orunmila is descending from the chain. There's a reason why if you go to different regions in Nigeria, each story will be different. Sometimes they'll tell you it was Obatala who came down. Sometimes they'll tell you it was Orunmila that came down. Sometimes they'll say it was Oduduwa who came down. And of course, I know there's always that person who wants to come in the comment section and correct me. No, originally it was supposed to be Obatala, but he got drunk. So then Orunmila came, but Orunmila didn't finish the job. So it was Oduduwa who had to come and really create civilization. I know the stories. I know all of them. I studied them. I know them. All right. I know what I'm saying. I always get, that's one of the reasons too why sometimes I pull back on the reshift. I always get those zealots, those religious zealots that have to come back. FX RBES. If you start with that, I'm gonna mute you out the group. All right, because you're a dude. You're not like spirit driven. Spirit driven sister. I'm gonna be more kind to her. You know better, and it's not your first time. He's saying it was Jesus. You see what I mean? It's always a monkey in the barrel. All right. So anyway, and I told somebody to grab that brother up, man. That's the one who said the Son is his God. Now it's Jesus who created the world. Okay. So anyway, comic relief on the side. You need the comic relief. So yeah, it's this idea again. There must be a correspondence between the concepts of creation and the concepts of destiny, right? So essentially, it's this, right? what we create in our now time, the reality that we create for ourselves determines our destiny. You know, no different than how you live today will determine what your tomorrow will be. You see, so because you can shape it right in the moment. So there's a unique and beautiful interplay between what has happened, what is now, and what will be. Okay, so sometimes we look at what has happened and we say, man, okay, I may have made that mistake or did that wrong or did that right. You know, so now what I'm gonna do is, yeah, there's Dietrich. Dietrich's in the group, man. Dietrich, you need to get with FXRBES. Matter of fact, Anwar too. I don't see Anwar today. He's probably working, but because Anwar's in Florida, and that brother's in Florida too. I better scoop up these these younger brothers, man. You know, get their minds right, man. Help them out, like Sister Marva says. All right, he over there praying to the sun. But so yeah, man. You know, so there's a direct correlation, you know, between what I have experienced previously, and I take a look at that and say, okay, either maybe I want to repeat. See, he said it. He's calling for you. He said, I'm in Miami. Link up. And that's, you know, and I know y'all don't like when I do this. Yo, I wish he would stay on topic. Yo, I paid a lot of money for this YouTube video and he keep talking about other stuff. Right. So the brother just said, I'm in Miami, link up. See, when I see stuff like that, or when I say, yeah, man, go reach out to the brother, da-da-da-da-da, and I see none of you brothers do it, and then y'all come to me talking about, yeah, Bob, I want to get initiated. I kind of ignore you in my mind. I'll be honest with you. Because I want to see if you got a heart for the people, man. If you can deal with FXRBES and him coming with his crazy theories and straighten them out, then you deserve to be initiated. You know, but I look at that, man. I pay close attention to that. Who's helping who? You know, who has a heart to help? You know, who has a heart to minister? Because essentially, if you don't have a heart to minister, man, you should not be trying to go into a priesthood when the very basis of it is serving, is ministering. Just a side note, brothers. Just a side note. All right. So yeah, we're talking about the correspondence between creation and destiny. And of course, you know, when you look at the two of them down there, oh, and by the way, FXRBS does video too. He does really nice video. Yeah. So I'm gonna put that out there. Now I bet y'all reach out to him. I bet you reach out now. So yeah, man, when we look at the correlation, we start to realize that it is the reality that we create for ourselves right now using our mental, using our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, or Rumila, that creates our destiny. You see, so we're creating the destiny, and sometimes we confuse a lot of times destiny with fate and karma, and they're different components in that sense. You know, when you're dealing with destiny, or even when you're dealing with karma, karma is again based off of your actions. Your destiny is based off of your thoughts. You see, so the way you think will then create a destination or a path for you, which would then affect how your karma plays out. You see, so that's why you see that correlation there with being the witness to creation, of course, and the witness to or the knower of destiny. Because when one creates their own reality, then they're able to embrace their future, because they can say, wait a minute, no, I've made certain deposits, right? So if I've made certain deposits towards my destiny, I know where this thing is going because I understand the law of correspondence. If I do something here, it's going to affect something over here. That's just how it works, right? So if I'm creating and architecting and building towards a certain reality or a certain life or a certain destination, and certain things begin to happen in my life that seemingly will shake or feel like they're going to shake my peace, I can stay rooted in knowing that this is not my destiny, because I know what I paid for. It's like going to a hotel and you pay for the presidential suite, right? And you get there, and you know, you saw the pictures, the brochure, and everything. You get there, you pay for it, you give them the money for the room, and you get there, and you got the 4 hour short stay, pick up a hoe and suite. You got that one. Cigarette burns in the carpet and everything is screwed down into the floor. Nah, play it. This is not what this is what the brochure said. This is what I envisioned. This is what I saw. So this is what I added and paid into. You see, so whatever it is that I'm experiencing right now, or whatever it is that has been presented to me, this is not my destination. So I'm not going to get all upset and rocked and everything like that, because this is not like I spoke to you about yesterday. When I speak to you guys, I always speak and function with you from where you'll be, not from where you are. That's the spiritual authority. That's what it grants. It grants that level of foresight, where you can see the destination. Why? Because you're tapping into Ifa. You're tapping into Orunmila. So you're witness to creation. I'm witnessing what you're creating right now for yourself. The elements and the components and the things that constitute what you are and who you are today, which will add up or create who you'll be tomorrow. You see, so it's a very tricky thing a lot of times, because some people think that even if I get a reading, my reading will tell me my destiny, right? It doesn't, and whatever kind of reading, doesn't matter whether it's tarot or Obi or Ifa or astrological reading, or runes. People think, okay, this tells you my destiny, and now I just have to pretty much wait for it to show up. I just wait around. This is the destiny, without understanding that no, it tells you where the destination currently is based on the conditions around either where you're at right now or conditions surrounding your birth. Based on this is where you would go. So let's say if you're born a certain way, say, okay, this planet was here, that planet had a relationship to that one right there, boom, 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 boom. So based on that, this is what happens next. So then you can make the decision in that moment, you know what, I'm going to push destiny. Okay. So now that I know what my natural posturing is based on where I began, I can now, for one, grab all the tools that I want from here and then move to the next. That's the science of Oya, right? Oya is married to Ogun. She learns the power and the ability of warfare from Ogun. And then she says, all right, I'm out now. I'm going to Shango. So she said, okay, even though I'm married, I'm in this situation here. I'm going to grab the greatest that I can get from this situation, but I'm going to push my destiny. You can't make me stay married. I'm out. Regardless of what social convention may say. You see, I can push my destiny into a different direction. You're not the king. Your brother's the king. That's what I want. You see, so and again, I'm giving a very loose example, but I mean it's accurate to the patakis. So ultimately, again, what I'm saying here is that destiny is something that we're carving out. Destiny is something that we're creating. We're creating our destination, because that's what it is, right? It's a destination. It's not something, but a lot of times we surrender and we abandon our birthright to our own destination. We surrender that. We think that someone else is supposed to tell us where to go. Now, people can tell us or help us, inform us how to go, the best way to get there. They can put experiences in front of us that will sharpen us and refine us and cultivate us in a way so that we can actually get to where it is that we want to go to. But essentially, you're going to define and determine where you're going to go. And a lot of times we want to use our time rationing to blame where our destination is on someone else. And it's very similar to the concept and the science of depression. You can't. You're taking on an external thought, an external idea, and saying, this is me. Well, often we do the same things as it pertains to destination. You take on an external idea and you say, this is me. Oh, you should be this. You should be that. Or you look like you would make a great so-and-so. Or you ain't SHIT. You'll never make a great so-and-so. But we take on these external ideas and then we coin those as our destiny. Huge, huge, huge mistake. That's not the way the world works, of course. All right. I'm I'm gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Okay. So if you have any questions on this, you know, or any comments, we can go into it. But I have more than I'm gonna give you on this, and then we're gonna break in a little. But I'm gonna take a quick break. Any questions, comments, you can call in 515-605-9862 or leave it in the chat room. All right, we'll be right back.
The energy. Yo, there's this thing called Storm, baby.
Watch the way you chit-chat.
You can twist you up.
What you put out, you get back.
Real. You gotta watch what you put out in the universe.
Give it today, get it tomorrow.
You project that flex of a lip. It can hem your whole aura or just make you flip. It's the law of the spirit world. Do you believe in lies? Hell no, brother. I was walking by the wise. Smile when you wanna cry, fake your enemies. Put on your mask, never wear your heart on your sleeve. Believe when I tell you all, better call your father. And listen when he show you what he know about karma. Do unto others how you wanna be treated. Watch your mouth, hide, don't get nobody hated. Feel like a cheater, do the nice penetration. Then what would Christ do in the likely situation? Walk the straight line, don't let the devil beat you. Cause he just wanna get you, kill you, cold eat you, swallow your whole flesh and soul. Follow your goal, never let go. Cut the nose, learn the way you know this. But if you live by the knife, you might get your nose slit. It's calm, baby.
Watch the way you chit-chat.
It's karma.
What you put out, you get back.
It's karma, y'all.
For all the joy and sorrow.
It's karma.
Give it today, get it tomorrow. What you gonna do? She's coming for you. Karma. Watch the way you chit-chat. Karma.
Yeah. It be the universal law of what goes around comes back to the sender. So y'all should all remember, smoke crack today, you might just die tomorrow. Before you touch that pipe, you'll think about the horror. Sorry be the man who plot devious acts. Your karma got a knapsack, hand and ish back. Like Adam and Eve, Pandora in the box. Unorthodox paradox, set it like clocks. 360 degrees be the circular chain. Now if you don't think shady, you can stop at 180. We went from babies to a grown man and old man. Karma so bad, we still haven't seen our homeland. It's so sad, simple and plain. When the truth, it can ease your pain. Now I'm saying, many were slaves who put on the whole armor. Listen when we tell you about, you know, it's karma, baby.
Watch the way you chit-chat.
It's karma.
What you put out, you get back.
It's karma, y'all.
For all the joy and sorrow.
It's karma.
Give it today, get it tomorrow. Karma. Watch the way you talk.
Yeah. I know a chick who gave an ugly stare. And yo, 2 years later lost all her hair. I know a cat who used to drink and smoke. Then he later on died from cancer of the throat. There was a dog who used to steal and rob. He got his life together, then the cat stole his job. I had a friend who gave a bum a dime. Now that friend of mine is fine and his bank account shines. Karma.
She's so persistent.
It's karma, baby.
Watch the way you chit-chat.
It's karma.
What you put out, you get back.
It's karma, y'all.
For all the joy and sorrow.
It's karma.
Give it today, get it tomorrow. I got a feeling. I got a feeling, brothers. I got a feeling.
Karma, sweat,
Somebody
sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat blood and tears. Karma, sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat.
I got a feeling, children. I got a feeling.
Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat blood and tears. Karma, sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat blood and tears. Karma, sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat. Sweat blood until you sweat blood and tears. Karma.
All right, cool. So we're back. And again, for those of you who just picking in, although I don't know why you'd be just checking in now, but for those of you just coming in, we've been speaking about destiny and how Rumila or the inward manifestation of Rumila corresponds to the ideas of shaping your own destiny. All right. So I stepped away. I don't know if there was any questions or not, but okay. Arthur wants to know what was the song called. Oh, okay. That the name of that song was actually Karma. Right. That's an old song. I did that song like 17 years ago, almost 20 years ago. It's an old song that was just sitting on my hard drive, but I thought it was, you know, it was relevant to what we're talking about right now. So yeah, that's Karma. All right. So yeah, man, you know, so like I said, there's a difference. I'm going to just kind of give this between destiny and fate. All right. A lot of times, like I said, individuals tend to use the terminology interchangeably, and they miss so much when they do that. Right. They miss so much in terms of the understanding. Even when they look at destiny, it's like, you know, well, it's just what it's predetermined, it's predestiny, you know. And again, it's because they see this invisible God in the air somewhere, and this invisible God is saying, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to, this is what you're going to do, and you have no choice about it. And if you do anything outside of that, then you know it can only be because of your rebellion. And the truth is, again, you live in a society where everything is politicized, so through the political nature of the society that we live in, you get hoodwinked. They hoodwink you. Okay. So if we look at fate for a moment, fate coming from fatus or fatir, right? And the idea of fate, you know, if you and in society and by social definition, fate is typically that's given something that you experience, you know, kind of like the movement or the manipulation or the controlling of one's personal timeline by gods, deities, the spirits external to them. You know, sometimes even people will say fates. The term fate was one of the older terms that was used to signify like a guardian angel, you know, or of course even a prophet, but like a guardian angel. You know, so the idea of the fate or fates in social definition is typically speaking about, yeah, you know, something external to you, even what this society would call otherworldly, you know, or off-world or supernatural, that's determining who and what it is that you are, right? But that's actually part of the hoodwink. That's not what fate means. In its earlier form, the word fate actually means to talk, to speak. And essentially, like when they would say the fates, they would be speaking about, because, you know, like you had the oracles of Delphi. And these were actually, you know, they were really the oracles of Hermes, you know, even though they were in Athena's temple and they were women, but they would communicate with Hermes, Tahuti, and Tahuti would give them the information, they would give it back to the people, right? But here's the thing, though. There was still an acknowledgement that it was to speak, but it was the God speaking. So fate was the idea of the God speaking. Well, let's go back to that again. If we look at it in a sense of we look at it in a sense, I lost my train of thought. If we look at fate in the sense of speaking, oh, I'm sorry, the indwelling of Orunmila or the indwelling of your deities, right? So we start to realize that if I have the breath of life inside of me, if I have Ami that's living inside of me and I speak, essentially, that is fate. So what I speak determines my fate. You see, fate is not something that's controlled from an external source. So now, just in these two different things, you have a really base understanding. Fate is what I'm speaking. Destiny is what I'm thinking. You see, that's why, again, you know, you have to, like, when you're reading some of these texts and things like that, you got to really like be able to put them in proper context. Like, so for instance, you know, of course we hear about fate and destiny and predetermined, you know, fate and things like that a lot of times in the biblical context. And again, if you look at your Trinity there, you know, if we say God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Mother, or the Holy Spirit, however you want to do it, you know, whatever level you want to take it to. God the Father is the thought. God the Son is the Word of God, as we find out in John 1. And God the Mother, or God the Spirit, is the active force, right? Which is the Oduduwa. That's the actual power. So essentially, between fate and destiny, we're talking about God the Father, God the Son. Fate would be the Son, destiny would be the Father. You see, that's the Trinity. Well, that same Trinity lives within you. And you don't, we don't have to stay in a biblical space, but I'm just saying a lot of times we define some of the things that we get, some of the information that we get, even from our conscious collectives, we define it through that particular lens, which of course can confuse us considerably. So that's the difference there. So they're not necessarily interchangeable terms in that sense. They're terms that work hand in hand together, but fate and destiny are definitely different. Now I saw a question here. So what are some of the different ways you would recommend in determining whether or not the destiny you're shaping is best for you? Divination. But let's try this. Why are you afraid? Like, I'm trying to word this a certain way. Why are you concerned about what's best for you? Just live out the destiny that you're creating. Now, how do you determine the best destiny? Let's go back to it. Let's go to your question. So what are some of the different ways you would recommend? And see, that's what say you always want the little spells, you know, or the quick fixes. But I'm going to bring you back to something. So what are some of the different ways you would recommend in determining whether or not the destiny you are shaping is best for you? What kind of information exists inside of your mind? If you have the information that's best for you, then you're going to think the best thoughts and shape the best destiny. There's no like, oh, meditate. I'm sure a lot of people will tell you that. You need to meditate and visualize what you want your life to be. You go ahead, you could do that if you want. But that's not it. That's not it. You know, you have to feel yourself. It's like let's replace it like this and think about this for a second. I'm gonna change your question around a little bit. Vivid Eye Publications. I'm gonna change it slightly. So what are some of the different ways you would recommend in determining whether or not the health you are shaping is best for you? Right? Just play with the question a little bit and think about it. So to determine that the health is best for me, I would get to know my body, and I would eat things that are best for my body, and I would do things that are best for me, right? I would educate myself about myself, right? Same thing. So you got to go back to the root. The root there is good thought. It's good, clean, nutritious thinking. Good, clean, nutritious thoughts will determine a better outcome for you. You see, by default, because what are your thoughts? Your thoughts are spirits. So when you have higher level thoughts, or you get close to better level thoughts, we'll say, then you're essentially getting closer to better level spirits, right? And the spirits or the fates or the fates, they help you to determine and to express the character of what you want your fate to be. Okay, so it's dealing with the mind, not meditation and stuff like that. I'm telling you. I mean, you can do it, but you know, it's not gonna really work. Okay, so Hassan Rodriguez asks, what's the difference between fate and the law of attraction? Okay, pretty good question. So like we say, fate to a degree is like speaking, is bringing things into fruition. And the law of attraction is not just speaking, but the law of attraction is being a certain thing that attracts other things. You know, fate in particular, when you're dealing with the concept of fate, it's a little bit different because fate also means like fate eradicates what's already present. Okay, because one of the meanings of fate as well is to destroy. Okay, so you're like, through your fate or through the speaking of your faith, you're destroying pretty much the passive destiny that's been implanted around you. Like you say, no, I'm gonna determine my own fate. I'm gonna be the author of my own fate. So in doing that, you have to destroy something. So it's very active in that sense. Now, in doing that, will you later then attract certain things into your life? Absolutely. You know, so again, it's kind of a work hand in hand type of thing, you know, but they're definitely not the same. You know, when you're dealing with the law of attraction, you're definitely you're dealing with, okay, there's certain, it's almost like the law of correspondence. There's certain things that if I affect here, they'll attract and pull certain things into my world. Okay, that's the law of attraction. You know, if I go outside and leave a plate of food, it's going to attract animals to come eat that plate of food. Okay, so it's not always necessarily what you're speaking into existence, because look at fate more as manifestation. Whereas the law of attraction, you're manifesting things, but you're not necessarily creating those things. You're attracting things to you that already exist. Now, whether they exist in the unseen world or whether they exist in our material reality, you're attracting those things to you. Whereas when you're speaking, when you're utilizing fate, a lot of times you're speaking things into existence that maybe, depending on your level of evolution and your level of development, might have never ever even existed on the planet before. You see, because you're bringing them into being. All right. That's a good question though, you know, and I hope that cleared it up. If it didn't, just put something in the chat, and I'll expound on it if that wasn't clear to you. All right. So you know, there is a distinction in terms of the two. Okay. And Rachel Rodriguez asks, what would you suggest I have a reading before enrolling in classes? Not necessarily. No. Mm-mm. I mean, you can. I used to suggest that because of the way I used to teach. So I don't know, you might have come across some old literature on the internet where I said that. But yeah, I used to, before I would work with students, because I used to really hand pick and cherry pick my students. But that was more when I was teaching in person. So I didn't take on everybody who wanted to be my student. You'd have to get a reading first. But no, I don't. You don't need to get a reading before enrolling in classes. But I do suggest at some point it's good to get a reading. You know, at some point in your journey, like let's say if you come into consciousness, like if you just started this year, right? Before the year is out, it's good to get a reading. You know, because the reason being, it's kind of like, again, determining what is around you, determining the tools that you have close to you, and certain things. It will help you to make sense of your journey, but it will also help you to understand what is around you, what is surrounding you, and what things that you can pull from, excuse me, to get certain things done. You see, so it helps you to save a lot of time. And I can tell you, and I'm sure some people, I don't know, in the chat might attest to it, a lot of times when I've worked with people and I've done readings, I always hear this thing, man, where were you 20 years ago? Or where were you when I was growing up, man? I wish I would have gotten this information back then. I'm always hearing that, you know. So I suggest, you know, you don't have to get it immediately, but, you know, before you start really making moves and stuff like that, yeah, it's good to have that check-in. Readings are important. Very similar to, you know, when you're getting ready to go into some type of fast or exercise regimen, a lot of times you want to get a checkup, you know, and it gives you an idea, again, of your thresholds, things that you're good at, your limitations and stuff like that. So when you say, yes, okay, I see she puts in here, thank you, and yes, I am a newbie. Yeah, so then, yeah, I would suggest get into the information first, right? And the reason I'm going to tell you, because, you know, I'm not assuming that you want to get a reading by me. You might want to get a reading by somebody else. But depending on, like, if it's me, I tend to give a lot of information during readings, right? And if you're not kind of in a groove of understanding, if you're not in a groove of that level of research and just kind of in that vibe, then I would tell you, you know, that it may be something that you get the reading, you'll record it, and you'll put it to the side. Now, a lot of people, they what they do is they listen to them over and over and over again, which I advise, let it soak in. But it may be a little bit overwhelming for you. So my suggestion would be kind of get in the groove. If you're listening to the segments, listen to the segments, read the books, you know, like Grasping Rooted Divine Power, Shrine and Altar, maybe even Solutions if you need that, you know, 14 Keys. Get accustomed to the mindset, the language. You'd be surprised. There's a lot that you can get done. You could because you first of all you'll learn how to do your own readings, you know, with those books, but you'll also kind of be able to take a cursory read of your life. You start reading certain things, you wake up to certain things. It's like, oh. So then by the time you get to me, you know, it's not so shocking. Sometimes I do readings for people, they're like, what? Huh? Because they have to process it in the moment. Whereas if you read a book, sometimes you could process it in your own time, you know, and then you get the reading and it helps you to understand even further. So I would definitely, you know, urge you to join the class, read the material, and then maybe, let's say, I don't know how new you are, but let's just say if you just got into this maybe January, right? I'll say maybe around June, or, you know, the fall equinox, September, something like that. Then get a reading. Maybe even like September. Push it to September. You know, something like that. Then I think by then you'd have your legs. You'd be a little strong. You'd probably be interacting with people in the Sedula House community a little bit. So, you know, I think you would get more out of it. You know, I think you would get more out of it, to be honest, you know. So, yeah, I don't push everybody to readings and services and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not up here to, there's no twist on the back end. You know, there's a lot of services, there's a lot of classes on sedulahouse.com. And I would urge that too, you know, like, you know, scoop up some of those classes that Kim does. You know, that will also get your mind into a certain space, you know. In all honesty, everything you pretty much need is there. You know, it's all pretty much there. But there's a lot of stuff that you can dive into before you actually speak to me. There's a lot of stuff, man. So yeah, that would be my suggestion there. All right. Okay, Hassan said, yes, sir. Thank you. Wrote that down. Okay, good. All right, good. So I'm glad you understood what I was saying. Yeah, I know that's why I just asked, because it was a good question. The best questions sometimes, the answers sometimes, even though the answers may seem simple, you know, sometimes it's still, you got to dig into it a little bit more. But yeah, you know, there's a fine line sometimes between some of these concepts. No different than when you're dealing with our traditional systems, man. There's a fine line. There's a fine line between Ochosi and Ogun. It's a fine line. There's a fine line, even between Oya and Oba. There's a fine line between Olasa and Oshun. Fine line between Nanan Buruku and Yemonja. Fine line. But those lines are significant. Trust me, they're significant. You know, so yeah, it's good to kind of not just glaze over. Like, that's why I'm glad you asked the question, because some might say like, oh, fate, destiny, odds. I was saying, no, there's a fine line, and there are formulas that work together, because what comes before speech? Thought. You know, even the creation of you as a person was a thought. You know, your parents looked at each other, said, let's do it. You know, let's make you know, Vivid Eye Productions. Yeah, let's make Vivid Eye Productions. Let's make Michelle Bonilla. Let's make J.R. Green. You know, they thought about it and then they spoke it first. Let's make Jennifer Jackson Higgins. You see? So there was a thought that preceded the actual words, which brought your destiny and your fate into being based on what was given to you. You know, in Yoruba systems, there are different things that we say that we receive when we choose our Ori. That was a question that was asked, by the way, and I'm sorry I didn't cover it because I don't remember where it was. I saw it in passing, but sometimes you guys kind of have a bad habit where y'all put questions anywhere. You know, sometimes we're going through the sites and cleaning up the sites, and in the review section where you're supposed to review the class, people are putting questions. You know, like they just look at a box, they don't read. I tell you all the time, and they just start typing. So sometimes questions come in, and it's like it's confusing. You know, that's why we give you those tunnels where to put certain things. You know, people just put them anywhere, or they go on the Facebook pages, they ask customer service questions anywhere. You know, so yeah, man, you know, someone asked that, and I don't remember where it was. I halfway remember the question, and they asked, you know, something about choosing an Ori, right? Something, and basically, I don't remember the full question. I'm sorry, but I do remember the answer. And when you choose your Ori, you don't necessarily know if you're choosing a good one or a bad one. Maybe I'll do a show where I'll teach you the whole mythology of choosing how we choose an Ori, you know, from Ipacha, you know, from when we're choosing it from a room. You know, maybe I'll teach that to you. But essentially, yeah, you know, you don't know what you're picking. You might get a good one, you might get a bad one, because sometimes they're made in the oven. Sometimes he doesn't bake them all the way, or he overbakes them, he pulls them out too soon. So it's through your Iwa, or your character, that you're able to improve your thinking, your Ori. And when you improve your Ori, what do you improve? Your destiny. That's why many people will say, oh, your Ori is the container of destiny. It is the way that you're thinking that creates your destiny. You see, it's really not, it's not that difficult. You know, it's not that difficult. Like I said, a lot of this information is a lot of it, but you just gotta pace and planning. Pace yourself. You see? But yeah, join the class, man. And there's you know, as you all know, that as you've probably seen, those of you on Sadula House, we've made some amazing changes as of late. Made it a lot more interactive. You know, my main piece, my old lady's about to come on, by the way. So my old lady's coming on in about 10 seconds. But yeah, you know, we've made some amazing changes. And as a result, like I foretold,
90 seconds.
All right, sugar. I told you guys that it would be a lot more interactive, you know, as a result. So as it is, you know, you see, and we're still developing, it's still expanding outward. But yeah, even in that community, you can pull more things as well. But there's certain things that are only going to be available to that community. Like a lot of people have been asking about the free spells, the free classes and stuff. And there's 60 seconds duet. But there's going to be things, and there are things already. You notice when you log onto the site, if you're a student, that there's certain menus and stuff that are not there before you log on. Okay. So yeah, there's extra information inside of the site that's available to you if you're a student of any of the classes, not just on new spiritual training, but even of the other classes, you know, like chakras and dreams and all that stuff like that. All right, so we're gonna get out soon. I'm gonna just answer these last couple of questions, and then we're gonna get moving. Okay, I'm just gonna read them. I'm just gonna go through them and read them instead of scanning.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay. Yes, I was looking at the site last night. Thanks for providing this platform. You're welcome. I came across your channel looking for information on Orisha and spiritual Baptists. Okay, cool. Yeah, my Orisha site is currently down right now. I have to put some energy to getting it back up. But yeah, there's videos, of course. Sister Marva says, imagine me all these years believing fate and destiny are the same. Oh, and I'm throwing my hands up right now. It's all right. It's all right. You know, you got plenty of years ahead of you anyway. So, you know, you just work on it. All right. Sister Sequoia says, when I'm sleeping, I find that I'm not dreaming, but instead I'm thinking and coming up with solutions. Am I purifying my thoughts and healing in that space? Am I purifying my thoughts and healing in that space? Nah, you're not resting. That's not a good thing. Okay, so let me repeat that question again for anybody who else has that issue. Sister Sequoia says, when I'm sleeping, I find that I'm not dreaming, but instead I'm thinking and coming up with solutions. Am I purifying my thoughts and healing in that space? When you're resting, you're not supposed to be thinking. That's the whole point of resting. You know, what's happening is that you're going to bed at night with an obsession. You're too restless, and you start having an obsession about calculations. So now you're carrying over your consciousness into your sleeping time. Remember, one of the beauties and the greatest things about being able to, there's a difference between resting and sleeping. You're obviously sleeping. I bet you wake up tired. There's a difference between that, but the key is when you're resting at night and you're having visions, or what many would call dreams, you're able to move the conscious mind to the side. You know, you're able to move that filter to the side, so that way you can manifest and you can create a reality, or implant new spirits and thoughts without it getting in the way. You see, so if your conscious mind is still active in that sense, when you're resting at night, that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. You're probably doing too much before bed. You're probably not slowing down in the evening. You know, sometimes in the evening, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not speaking from my high horse. I work through the night, which is not good. And I do readings in my sleep. Literally, I cast Ifa in my sleep for different students and clients. You know, because I dream lucidly, so and that's not good. So don't, you know, no, it's not a good thing. A lot of times our regiments are not healthy. We don't move with sun. Sun goes down, you go down. That's, you know, plain and simple. Sun goes up, you come up. You know, in the evening, we don't know how to relax and enjoy leisure. You know, you really want to understand that. Study Greek culture a little bit, or just research Greek culture and what their days were like. It'll teach you a lot about that. You know, they got it from Comedic Society, of course, but they really mastered that science of what time you work, what time you eat, what time you relax and you retire. You know, I Am Divine said, Chief, is the feeling of a want, creating thought, act as either. Try this again. Chief, is the feeling of a want, act as either? Are you saying ether? Because you spelled it like ether. So I don't know if you're saying ether. Chief, is the feeling of a want, and then you put in parentheses, creating thought, act as ether. No. If you're saying ether, no. We can't create ether. No, ether exists above. All right. So if I'm reading that wrong, I have to admit I'm having a little trouble understanding your question. Hassan, Roger, see, all y'all got these questions at the end of the show. I might just have to dead this and come back to this tomorrow. Matter of fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy these questions. I'll answer them. Nah, all right, there's one more here. See, that's the weak part of me. See the weakness of me? Are there any videos on working with pregnancy in your child while she is still in the womb? No, I don't have any videos like that, but I do have some methods. I'd like to get some information because I'm new to this information and a new father. Okay. No, I don't have, if I do, you know what the students will tell you, because honestly, a lot of you listeners know what shows I've done better than I do. I have to admit. Sometimes y'all remind me about shows that I completely forgot. Now, of course, I did shows on motherhood recently that would probably help you out a lot in terms of that, because I dealt with when children are still in the womb. But specifically, you know, techniques and stuff, no, I have not done shows on those, but I do have techniques on that. Yes. So Sequoia said, oh no, I'm sorry. I Am Divine is answering Sequoia. So she said, your dreams are messages. They give you solutions. They are giving you answers to the healing you seek in the situation from your goon, especially if you ask your goon if you ask your goon before sleeping. Yeah, but I am divine. She's not necessarily dreaming. She's thinking while she's sleeping. It's different. You know, it's a different thing. So yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. Like, I am divine. That's a good example. What you just did. Like, you gotta look at the question more, because sometimes a person's question isn't as valid as you think. You know, Sequoia's question was valid, but I'm just saying, I've noticed that sometimes in the chat room, sometimes people will ask questions and y'all just go right into answering it. You got to look at the question a little bit more sometimes. Like, sometimes the question itself, there's an energy behind it. The question is revealed in the light. You got to be able to see the dark. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to see what's behind it as well. Not just answer what's apparent, but answer what also what the root cause is. You see what I'm saying? Like, if she's saying, okay, well, you know, I'm thinking and I'm working out solutions while I'm sleeping, right? Well, we know she's not really working out solutions. And there's ways that you could tell that those aren't real solutions that she's working out. You see, you got to look at both sides of it, you know, and that comes with time, but you just got to know that it exists. You know, just like when you talk to someone, you're talking to them, and then there's a shadow self at the same time. And, you know, what we call that is vibes. You know, I'm feeling the vibe. I feel this person's vibes. I like their vibes. I don't like their vibes, but they might be talking about something completely different. So, you know, I am divine. Just as a, you know, little, you know, little tip, little chief tip, you know, you want to try to be able to look at both sides. All right. Peace, Sister Georgina from the Netherlands, 8:35 p.m. over there. Yeah, it's 2:37 over here. Let's see, Chief, do dreams provide solutions for situations when you communicate with the Egun? Dreams provide solutions, period. You know, whether or not you're communicating with the Egun, a lot of times the Egun will use your dreams, because sometimes some people are so hard-headed, that's the only time you can talk to them is when they have sleep. And he said, I seem to see situations in my sleep with answers. I thought this meant a message. Yeah, it could be a message, but it's not always from your Egun. See, a lot of times we do that. Anytime we get a message, say, oh, my ancestors are talking. Do you know the difference between your ancestors talking and your Ori talking? And a spirit talking, or your Egbe? Do you know what each energy, which each voicing, the presence of that voicing, do you know what each one of those presence feels like? You know, so you don't always want to just, oh, my ancestors talk. There's so many other, and within the spiritual kingdom and ecosystem, there's a lot of energies present. You see, so, you know, just give that some thought. All right, we're gonna get out of here. I know y'all got some questions coming through. Put them through in the beginning next time. Don't wait till the last minute. And I know the shows make you. That's why at the hour I played 4 minutes worth of song, and I played a long song specifically so that you would have an opportunity to think about your questions. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow. Is Friday. We'll be back tomorrow first thing in the dawning, 7 a.m. Okay, 7 a.m. So we'll be back for the sunrise salutation, and of course a new subject. And yeah, Diana, you are. What happens when you have dreams you don't remember? I ain't answering nothing right now. I said we deal with this tomorrow, man. The question's still coming in. I got this lump in my armpit. Should I go to a doctor? You know, come on, we'll do it tomorrow. But I did do a whole segment on dreams. Matter of fact, it's an older one, but it's a three-part series. I believe it was 3 parts that I did on dreams and recalling dreams and breaking them down and everything like that. Even the alpha, beta, theta waves, you know, that you have in your brain. So, you know, peace, Soto Tutu. You're welcome. So I would advise you all to check out that particular show. You know, those of you who are interested in the dream piece, there's a lot of information there on dreams. And as for any last minute questions, I'll try to copy and paste them so that I can share them with you tomorrow. All right, I'll try to answer them them for you tomorrow. But yeah, man, you know, there's shows on dreams, and there's shows on motherhood that would help you, brother Hassan. I think it was Hassan who wrote that, if I'm not sure, the one who asked about the new father. The shows on motherhood that will help you a lot with that as well, you know. And please utilize, those of you who are students, more than welcome, Barbara Byron. Yeah, and Kim says she did a class on dreams. Well, you should have came in with that, said that right from the beginning. I did a class on dreams, direct them to the dream class, you know. So yeah, there's also a class on dreams on the website. All right, so there's a lot of different information. All right. So yeah, I am divine. I don't know what kind of phone you're using, but everything you typing is coming out looking like a ransom letter. You know, it's capitals by, you know, lowercase all over the place. It's weird. All right. So, but you know, like I was saying, you know, utilize the website. You know, if you purchase a class, you'll then have access. You won't get an access by purchasing the class. You have access. You can then go into there, and you know, you can ask different students and stuff like that. There's a forum inside of there as well that you know, is open for the students as well. You know, so that's your end if you have all these residual questions and everything like that. Okay. All right. So we're gonna head out, and I want to thank you all for listening. Again, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow, first thing, 7 a.m. Sunrise salutation, new idea, new concept, new information. All right, we're gonna keep it coming. We're gonna keep it coming. We're gonna keep it coming. All right, until such time, this is Chief Yuya signing out for the ANU Nation. And for those of you who are students, I'll see you over at SUICIDAL House. I've gotten your messages. I've been communicating with you all back and forth on SUICIDAL House. All right, everyone, be safe today. Move with strength. Peace.